All right, so the news on Zillow just doesn't stop. So we all know that a couple weeks back in November, Zillow comes out and says, hey, we're done buying houses. We're gonna shut down our iBuying division. Fine, okay, cool. Then another story comes out where they start canceling contracts with homeowners that they agreed to buy homes with. Mm-hmm. They say we're backing out of some of those deals. And then this week, this is crazy. The Zillow shareholders file a class action lawsuit. And so what happened is, in this report, I'll read it, it says that the complaint filed alleges that throughout the class period, defendants failed to disclose to investors 4 things. Number 1, despite operational improvements, the company experienced significant unpredictability in forecasting home prices. That means Zillow doesn't know shit about home prices.
Oh, isn't that what they do?
The Zestimate is not worth anything. Okay,
so that's property taxes are always wrong.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Number 2, they said that because of that unpredictability, as well as labor and supply shortages, led to a backlog of inventory. Number 3, as a result of the foregoing, the company was reasonably likely to wind down its Zillow offer business, which would have a material adverse impact on its financial results. And then number 4, as a result of that foregoing, the statements about the company's business, operations, and prospects were misleading. So here's what happened. So Zillow comes out there and they say, okay, we're going to start buying homes. We're going to start this iBuying division. We're supposed to make all this revenue. Investors take that information and say, hey, we want to give you some money.
Yeah.
And so this lawsuit is based on the fact that they believe that they didn't disclose any of this shit that was going down with Zillow and how much of a mess it was. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens. What are your thoughts on this?
I think that the truth will always set you free. You know? I mean, if you're transparent about that, I mean, obviously there's always risk when you make an investment, right? When you're investing in a company, there's always risk that that company is going to shut down. But with this, I mean, obviously there's a lack of transparency. There's something that was missing with how they explain things to their investors.
Well, I think the biggest thing with this whole Zillow iBuyer debacle that Zillow's not letting on was what I just said, was that this was Zillow, by the way. They are saying that their unpredictability in forecasting home prices comes out in 2021, where for the last 15 years, homeowners have been obsessed with what is my home worth on Zillow. Yeah. And so nonetheless, I'm like, okay, finally Zillow comes out and says, we don't know anything about home prices.
Right.
And so that was interesting. Then the article goes on to say that on November 2nd, the company disclosed that it would wind down its home buying and selling business, which was Zillow Offers, their iBuying division. And this was, quote, okay, from Zillow, the unpredictability in forecasting home prices far exceeds what we anticipated, and continuing to scale Zillow Offers would result in too much earnings and balance sheet volatility. I think that's bullshit. They just couldn't, their algorithm on how they were buying these houses, they pretty much fucked up. They bought houses for way too much money.
Yeah.
They realized it after buying 8,000 houses and like, all right, dude, we got to get out of this fucking business model, right?
Do you think it was so for me, I mean, the prices, I mean, I'm not a real estate agent, right?
Yeah.
So I work in the mortgage
You're
world,
the finance guy.
Yeah. So I look at Zillow like is the Zillow home value, are they good at collecting data and reporting what that value could be based on public record, right? Like off the MLS, but really bad at forecasting it. Saying, because it sounds like where they screwed up wasn't, I mean, obviously you have to buy it right to make money. I mean, that's like the old adage.
Yeah,
right?
all the money's made and that's exactly right.
On the buy, right? But they're blaming the whole thing on the forecasting, right? So they don't know, they screwed up in saying what these homes are going to sell for. You know, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's
interesting.
It's a good point.
Interesting thing. Or it's like they wanted to go all in on the housing boom, right? They're like, we're going all in on the housing boom, iBuyer, we're ramping this whole thing up.
Yeah.
Only during a bubble. You know, not and I shouldn't say a bubble because we hate that word. I don't believe we're in a bubble, but during this time when houses are they like went all in while we're in the rise rather than
at the top of the market.
Yeah. You know, it's kind of interesting.
Well, the thing that you just said though, you said, is Zillow good at collecting data? They're the best. Right. Nobody can compete with that. So here's the way I look at this. Is for, I don't know, probably I'm just going to say 15 years. It could be longer than that, right? I remember you and I writing mortgages together when Zillow was coming out with their Zestimate, right? And everyone was obsessed with the Zillow Zestimate. So from a data collection standpoint, yeah, they're phenomenal. They've been collecting data for a long time.
Yeah.
And the thing that frustrates me is that how much homeowners have emotionally invested themselves into what their home is worth on Zillow.
Yeah.
And all this time, Zillow leading people to believe that they can like put some weight into this Zestimate.
Yeah.
Then I believe, Steve, they used that data to launch this home buying selling business model.
Yeah.
They only did it for a couple months and they're like, we're not very good at this. We need to get out of this.
Bad experiment, right?
It's a bad experiment. And then they come out and say, we are not good at forecasting home prices. And so then they lay off 25% of their company. And then here's what they say. Here's what happened next. So the article goes on to say, Zillow's shares after this news plummeted 23%. Okay, on November 3rd, on unusual heavy trading volume, while Zillow's Class C share prices fell 25%. So, I mean, it's going to be, I mean, they're in a mess right now. I don't know what they're going to do. I think this whole thing goes back to Zillow has a very successful business model, which is lead generation for realtors and now mortgage professionals. Yeah. I don't know who at Zillow says, okay, why don't we get into the real estate business? We'll become a real estate brokerage. We'll become a mortgage company. And I think, and I believe as an entrepreneur, as a business person, this is simply a case of them having their own shiny object syndrome. Going way too wide, not staying in your lane, trying all these different things. Stay in your lane, Zillow, right?
Yeah. I watch. You know what makes me think about it? I'm out of things to watch on my treadmill at the gym. So I'm rewatching Narcos Mexico right now.
I gotta watch that. You said it's good. It
is really good. But you know what Zillow did?
Tell me.
They did what happens to every good drug kingpin. They got high on their own supply, right? So they used their own stuff.
Great.
And then it took down their empire. They're like, our thing is so good, and all these people are investing and buying our leads and these. Because you know on Zillow too, like if you create an account on Zillow, you can go in and doctor up your
value of your home.
The value of your home. You can add rooms. You can add rooms in your basement, add your basement square footage to that, and all of a sudden,
Zestimate's
you're like, oh, I just doubled the square foot of my house. Like Zillow said this, So it's one of those things where Zillow they got so excited about that, and they're excited about the housing market. The company's making money. The same way they did in, Sinaloa, Mexico.
Yeah.
And everything's going pretty good. And all of a sudden they get into the cocaine business. Everybody figures out how great cocaine is, and down goes the empire,
That's an interesting
funny.
Is that what you thought about on the treadmill this morning?
That's what I was thinking about, right? The whole time you were talking, all I could think about was Narcos. I don't know.
I got to watch that show. I got to get into that. I mean, so anyway, it'll be interesting. I want to really pay attention to this lawsuit, Steve, and see kind of, okay,